Welcome, everybody, back to My Hero Analysis Beyond, the MHA Rewatch Show. I am Tom DeGrazia, and I'm joined by Steph Bear. Steph, happy holidays. How are you?
Yeah, happy holidays to you, too.
Did you have a good Christmas yesterday?
I had a hectic Christmas because with two small children, it's like nonstop. It's not even. They were up from 2 a.m. till 4 at different times trying to
see Santa.
And trying to get them in bed, and everything's already set up, so I'm trying to stop them from going downstairs because then it's just over. Then
you can be like, oh, well, he came while you guys were asleep for that brief second, right?
Then they're awake. Then it's just
then it's time to open it.
Yeah.
So I actually, growing up, I used to do the same thing right away for them, and my parents pulled that thing where they're like, oh, he came while you were asleep, and I'm like, oh, cool, I can open it now. They're like, oh, no. You can't open them because he might come back and take them if he finds out that you open them before they say a time that they want to get up at. And I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that was a new restriction that they had. And so I went back to bed, and then would wake up like later when it was time. But they were clever like that.
Mine were like insane. I was like, I'm gonna lock you both in your rooms in about 5 minutes if I don't get any sleep.
I can't imagine. I mean, I can't imagine, but kids and Christmas, it's like that magic time, right?
Mm-hmm. Especially when you have like multiple relatives dropping stuff out the door. So it's just like waves of kid toys and you don't know what you're going to do with it all.
They must get a ton. I think, sorry to go a little behind the scenes.
No, you're fine.
I think I have the episodes messed up. Oh, wait. Nope. I have the same thing twice. That's what's going on. Okay. So banter. We're going to need to banter for a little bit because the very first episode it's never downloaded.
Uh-oh.
That's what it was that we were waiting on. So we were like a couple minutes late tonight because we were waiting for this one thing to download with all the screens from the very first episode of the night. I thought it was the last one. So I re-downloaded it. And apparently I re-downloaded the wrong one. So, did you get anything good for Christmas?
I got my cotton carrier, which is like a harness for my camera.
So nice.
Have to have it bounce off rocks and stuff. It'll be secured.
Yeah, not having your camera bounce off rocks is a great thing.
Especially when you're running around. And I also got a Nightwing action figure from Dan, which was super sweet. So I'm pretty stoked.
Ooh, the McFarlane one?
The DC Direct, I think. I have to find it.
Oh wow, I like the DC Direct one a lot. The McFarlane one I like. It's just too tall, because theirs are 7 inches.
Yeah, I don't know. I was hoping he would tell me what it was because I can't remember. I can't see the box from here.
Well, he might. It takes a minute to catch up. McFarlane.
McFarlane. So I'm wrong.
Still a good figure though. It's Nightwing. Nightwing's great in anything. Doesn't matter what.
It's my fave.
This was a Christmas gift by my lovely co-host. Was on this side. my girl, which I'm going to remove in a second because it is like 80 degrees in this room. So somehow it's normally frigid in this room, but today, for some odd reason, not the case.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Christy. So she just joined the chat. We're a little bit behind, but we're live because we're going, learning what went wrong while it's going wrong. All right, I think I'm almost ready. All right, episodes 45 through 47. And
we got it.
I got it. All right, we're going to jump in starting now.
Yes, this is okay. Because this is the summarization of them getting to that part in meeting up with all the bad guys and the villains in the camp still.
Yep.
I'm so caught up on episode 3 of this that I can't remember where we started.
Oh, I know. This is like this 3-episode set has a crazy shift in it, right? Because it's the end of this crazy thing, and then it's kind of like this interesting lull, but not really a lull because it's like a build up to the next big thing. And
Mhm.
Midori even says, he's like, you know that thing I've been talking about in the background, that incident that I said happens? Well, this is how it starts. So like
Yeah.
really kind of gets you going.
I had to get a couple twice screens because he was just like the great. He's like, "Oh, I know them. Who are they?" Like,
Yeah.
just, like,
That was new for this episode though, right? I don't remember him
I
saying
think
that in the
so.
previous one.
The banter between the League of Villains or the Vanguard that they are right now is like the best. It's
Yeah.
like it's so good.
I think I honestly attribute a lot of that to Twice because he's so like the first time I saw it, I think this was after I read it. No, maybe it was the first time I read it. I was so confused as to what was happening because I'm like, he's contradicting himself constantly. What is going on? And then I was like, oh well, his name is Twice. That might pull into like the quirk, and then eventually they'll go into it. But yeah. It's really funny and kind of confusing at first.
It's even more confusing because everybody else is ignoring it like it's normal too.
Yeah,
so it's just
right?
like whatever goes on.
Which is also kind of crazy too, because you got to imagine that they all just kind of met each other like within a couple of weeks, maybe at most. So it's funny that they kind of acclimate to each other so quickly.
Yeah, and I think this is like they say like a few minutes earlier before the boys landed on Compress, so they go back to, yeah, they are intense. Go back to I believe the kids needing extra lessons. So you're going back to Vlad's part where they had them. I believe this is Kirishima talking now.
Yep, I believe you're right, actually.
Oh no, it's right here next. Yeah. Where he's like super like gung ho. He wants to go fight. He wants to go save his friend. He's like doesn't understand why they're not letting him because everyone else is out there fighting. And I think Vlad goes over it that he's got to stop because they're there to be safe and everyone's goal is to get to where they're at. So that works. Helicopter.
Yep, but then someone. Oh, you have a ghetto bird in the sky.
The helicopter. I'm like, ah.
Yeah.
But then they have obviously someone comes to the door, and I like that the kids heard it too. Like their instincts kicked in enough where they're like, "What is going on?" And then Dobby blows in the door.
What is this?
It's not really him.
The Dobby double.
Yeah.
I feel like this is one of the Dan says I feel like this is one of the only times we see Vlad in action, and I think you're right. I actually always forget what his quirk is.
Yeah,
and it's so crazy. Is that his own blood or is that like
It's gotta be.
Yeah,
makes it only cooler if it is.
Yeah,
but he's got his little vampire teeth too, which I didn't catch. So
I like it. I always think that he's like more of like a feral kind of beast kind of like person, but. Yeah, in this episode we see that it's like he can basically just control like his blood or like turn it into hard substance of some kind.
But this was awesome. No blood needed here.
Well, that was the thing. I didn't know if it was his or if it was Dobby's, but then I remembered like this is a Dobby double. I don't think they have blood, so.
Yeah. And then just the way he talks is just the entire time about them not being able to protect the kids, and it's just going to keep happening again. Just that they're not doing what they need to be doing as heroes either.
Dobby has this calm, cool, collected aura about him that really kind of comes off as extra menacing. It's the thing that like Tamora is slightly more of the chaos. You could tell that Dobby is a little more calculating. But he doesn't tell anybody what he's calculating. He's just like, no, this is how it is in my head. Like, I know it's all going to play out the way it should. But it's like, it kind of adds like a little eerier twist to it.
This part made me laugh.
Yeah, I love that too.
It just comes out of nowhere. And just like, I think he like stomps the guy's face in for like a while. And everyone's like, what is going on? He's like trying to show them it's a fake. But at first you're like, whoa.
Pounds of brain in the head.
Crazy. But there's his blood too, like because he made it hard to hold the guy in place.
And Dan said lots of blood quirks, and this kind of goes back to I think it was last episode or the episode before where we saw that the one kid from 1B whose ability is to basically turn his face or make like manga speech balloons become real. And it's like I always kind of see these powers as being like organic things, like right because it's. It's part of your body. It's like an extra muscle. So I'm so confused by that one kid's power being just like manga panels that it's like, it blows my mind because everybody else is, it's like blood or it's like an extra manifestation of something. I guess Jiro's earphone jack plugs are a little bit more
They're
material.
genetic, though, I think, right? Hers
They're
is from
what?
her mom. They're genetic from her mom, so it's still like kind of organic.
Yeah, they are genetic, but you got to imagine, like, do they start looking like normal aux cables, or did they start looking like little fleshy knobs,
Yeah.
that you can't quite plug into things, and they just became sharp over generations? I don't know.
Mhm.
Anyway, we can keep going.
Yeah, I was gonna say we go to Shoji's next because that one's crazy too.
Yep. Mr. Aizawa.
Yeah, they were super excited to see him, and then poor Coda. Just
I like
like
he's like, stop taking care of Coda unexpectedly.
yeah, like so I came back to drop him off, and then I have to go off again. So they're not even going to use his water quirk. Like they put off in the entire episode talking to him about it. They're going to leave him there.
Yeah.
Oh, this is Aizawa, I think, giving them like the heads up that they're after the students. They might not just be after Bakugo, so they all have to stay there because they're not sure what's going on.
Yeah, because all this time, we're seeing Karishima really kind of have a crisis of conscience where he really wants to disobey in a way and go out there to save Bakugo, because he's like, if my feet don't move, then am I even a man or a hero at all? I believe he says something along those lines in the next episode.
And I think that makes more sense later on in the series too, because I didn't realize it until I rewatched that he has this dilemma a lot.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and he can't act here. It's funny though too to also see Ida talk about how he wants to jump into action, but obviously he can't. And they make a good point. Why?
I had to go back to this one. This is just really sweet, especially with his arms spread out like that. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I love it. Oh.
I think that was the next one. Like I didn't catch her in action because she came straight at Deku, like right after he like even moved after this point in time. Just because she's super excited that he's there, but she's like, you'd be even cooler if you bled more, which I don't think that's possible at this point in time. But...
Well, he's not bleeding. He's like all bruised up and broken, but I mean, his arm was bleeding, but you can't see it because it's all wrapped up now. But yeah, it just kind of shows her psychotic personality of how, she's really attracted to really bloodied up people. So gross.
And then Choji just throws her out. I think also Dabi burned them. That's right. Because that also, not only is his broken arm too, it was like...
he got fried. Shoji got fried. Was it just the two of them?
Yeah, because I think Todoroki jumped backwards. Because for some reason, I don't think Todoroki's on their kill list. I think this is what he was saying. It's only these two, or is it Todoroki and...
No, it's Todoroki and Midoriya because they interfered with the stain stuff.
That's right.
I love her whole explanation. Like, you're not my type whatsoever, but I'll cut you anyway.
Yeah, she's just like... Their whole like little fight scene right here was like ridiculous. Oh, and then like Compress comes up, he's all excited about it, and then Dabi's like, okay, where's Bakugo? Let's go. And then he's like checking his pockets, and then Shoji shows off that he pulled the things out of his pocket while he was going because he was flaunting it. And he's like trying to run away at this point in time. He's like, I got it, let's go, let's move.
Yeah, I mean, that's the smart move, is if you accomplish your mission, which was to rescue the two students, why drag stuff out? Get out of there as quickly as possible.
And it's funny because the guy's like, oh, it's a good use of 6 arms. Mr. Compress, this makes him feel better. He thinks he has them. And the whole thing is that he got a big trick because he actually like gave him like the deceiving look and switched him out.
Right as Kurogiri pops up, which is what this reaction is too. Like, this is the guy that was at USJ. Because like they're starting to escape and they're not like chasing after the kids. So they're kind of like, what's going on? And then Mr. Compress reveals, his more magician secrets.
Magicians. Yeah. And he had them in his mouth though, which is gross.
I mean, they're just marbles.
Oh, and then Dan's favorite. I forgot this even happened.
Yep. When before the episode started, while we were talking, and Dan said that his second favorite episode was the art for this one. I knew that this had to be the number one favorite moment, right? Dan,
yeah.
Please confirm.
And they both like, I like how Dabi's irritated and Midoriya's like, oh my god, I wasn't expecting this either. But
I think he's more like a chance. Like that bought us a chance. Like we can go in there.
And Dabi's irritated because he saw him on his way over and just assumed he was weak. It wasn't going to cause any trouble.
I don't know if he actually saw him because he thinks that he locked eyes with him. But I mean, you got to imagine too. This is also nighttime. They're in the woods. He was peeking out behind a brush. I've definitely like in areas that are dark before thought I like locked eyes with somebody before, but then you realize you totally didn't because sometimes you can see something the other person can't. Like if you're standing underneath like the one light, you can't see the stuff in the darkness, or vice versa it works. So I don't know if he actually saw him. I would imagine not, because I don't think Davi would be the type to be like, I guess we'll leave him. I think he would just take another kid. Why not?
I don't know. I felt like this was a little moment for him at least.
Yep. Literally cheered out loud when this happened. My love for Aoyama didn't exist the first time I saw this episode, so I completely forgot. I also completely forgot because I think Aoyama's a little forgettable until a certain moment later on in the series.
This was cute though. I agree with Dan. I was like, oh, that was awesome. It was like
it's awesome watching kids with really low confidence in themselves kind of finally stand up and find that within themselves.
And this is the snatch and grab basically. So Shoji grabbed one in midair, and then this is Todoroki going to Shoto going to grab one, and then Dabi grabbing the other one.
Yep. Yeah, because Midoriya was running, and then all of his injuries caught up to him all at once. He stumbled and fell and fell apart. I also like that he purposely says Shoto's full name as he's like fading away into the warp gate.
That really calm demeanor comes into this point too.
Yep.
This whole part like gave me like his way he yells Kachan when he's in trouble is like insanely amazing. This exchange.
I don't want to I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna like say anything, but when he was screaming up in the air like really distraught from losing Bakugo, I know what happens. I've read this, I've seen this multiple times. I still welled up a little bit because it's emotional. I don't know. I feel bad for him like losing his friend, and it's exactly as you said. If you're watching the sub, at least the way the voice actor, Midoriya's voice actor, delivers it, it's in a pain stressed heartfelt way that it like you feel his anguish more so than other times when he's delivering like funny lines like hey and hey you, which we'll get to later.
And this part was like the response to this, because knowing what we know now about Bakugo later on, this actually meant a lot, even though it's like a very short sentence. I think Ochako puts it into perspective later on too. I think she makes a comment, and it kind of like their understanding of Bakugo as a person isn't quite there yet, or they do understand and don't care, one or the other. But
I think it's a lot of part two as well, because you kind of have to be like, this guy was just captured by how many villains that gave pro heroes and a bunch of students a hard time. Yeah, maybe his confidence would be hurt a little bit if he got rescued, but at the same time, he might not get a chance to live if he doesn't get rescued. And that's kind of the whole thing where Midoriya is hearing All Might's voice in his head over and over again, like the act of meddling in affairs that you shouldn't be meddling in or something like that when you're not asked to. That's what makes a hero, and that's exactly what drives him to try to go save Bakugo. But yeah. It's also the way how he says that, like the way how he says, like, don't come Deku is like, again, talking about the voice actors, Bakugo's voice actor did an amazing job making that sound like he has a little bit of fear in his voice, which is something that we don't normally hear from Bakugo whatsoever, but he delivered it in such a great way.
It was a really good line. And then we kind of have the recap after this of the cleanup and them finding it, and then them trying to, one of their people is still missing, one's injured and one's missing for them, and then a bunch of the students are unconscious. I didn't get it, but Jiro's shirt says dead on it, and
it says dead?
It said dead, and I laughed, but I forgot to take a screenshot of it. And
oh my god, I didn't know that.
Yeah, this still was everything.
Yeah. Well, that actually would have been good art for the episode too.
Oh, I missed it. It was like right past this, like she's on the gurney out, and just her shirt says dead on it.
In English or in Japanese?
Yeah, in English.
Oh, maybe that's it. Like, because if they don't translate it, like I'm not like looking for it. Also, I'm trying to read what they're saying
Mhm.
underneath while I'm watching. So like if it's in English, I just probably in my head auto completed it to being kanji, and it
Mhm.
totally wasn't.
And then he goes like he was thinking back to what Tamura said, and he said the next time you'll most likely decided to kill you, and so he's realizing then that that's also why he's beat up or why he's not there. Is like he's intended to hurt him and to end
Yep.
his life.
Well, I mean, Midoriya was also on the kill list. He learned that by fighting Muscular in the very beginning.
Then we kind of go to the school now, having to have their response, which Aizawa's already like was prepared for doing when he did his speech about letting them fight. But I don't know how they heard about it this fast either. Like I don't know if the police or somebody was out there when they called in rescue support.
I'd imagine. So there's that. I bet someone probably has a police scanner that they listen to.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how news, I think, tends to get their information. Also, I could totally see the League of Villains tipping off reporters because this whole thing plays into exactly what they wanted the reaction to be. They
Mm-hmm.
needed the press to find this out to put scrutiny on UA to, further drive home their main goal.
Yeah, because I think even Dobby mentions about UA and All Might being in the same place at the same time made it way too easy to get their message through.
Yep.
This is their war room too. It made me laugh. It's a U.
It's funny. We growing up as a kid, we Thanksgiving we used to have the entire family over our house, so, like massive, like massive being like 30 people,
Mm-hmm.
But our dining room could only fit so many. But one year, my mom had this great idea. Hey, let's make the dining room table a U shape so we could like kind of wrap in. And so you see where the principal is sitting. My cousin sat directly opposite that, so the principal seat would be like the head of the table. That's where my dad would sit, and my cousin sat like directly across from him, and it was like they were having an intimate like Thanksgiving dinner like all night. It was really funny. So I don't know why this table reminded me of it, but there you
The poor All Might, he's like super sad and mad with himself because he was taking a bath and actually relaxing for probably the first time in his career, and this is what happened.
go. Well, I mean, you say the first time in his career, however, he, isn't All Might 21 hours of the day. So it's not always going to be the first time in his career. It's not like we saw him just on his way to work. He overdoes it heroing. I bet at the end of the day, which was nighttime when that all happened, I'm sure he has no All Might left in him for that day. Not like he would be able to do much.
Mm-mm. I think this is just going over Bakugo because he's missing and everything. They're going over everything. But they were also talking about how he might be shaky because he's a little bit violent and like the UA wasn't doing anything to curb his behavior and how he's easily might be swayed by the villains to come onto their side.
Yep.
And actually, when they started doing this part of this episode, I was really worried they were going to flip him because that was like one of those weird anime things that happen. And so I was like, oh no.
I think that's exactly what the purpose of this story arc was to be too, was to kind of give you a lot of the drive behind Bakugo and like also how the teachers see him. Because like, Aizawa in the next episode, man, does he go to bat for Bakugo in such like an amazing way. Like everything that we know him to be now, at least, like Aizawa kind of puts it right in front of you, be like, no one strives harder to be number one than this kid. And if they see that as their opening, just because he has a little bit of anger, which is actually more internal at himself for not blowing everybody else away to be the number one, they have a rude awakening coming, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad that they didn't, because it made that character so much stronger than just flipping him to be a villain.
Ordinary. And this is going on back about how one of the teachers must have been somebody on the inside for intel. And so President Mike is still pushing this because he's like, no one else knew about this, what was going on.
Yep.
And so they kind of talk about it.
And I gotta say, I keep thinking about. I won't go into details, but Mariana has like an amazing prediction of who like this person would be, and I think about that a lot when this scene was going on. This is really interesting.
This comment, especially.
I mean, they all like. I think even President MC.
President Mike can't prove his innocence either. He's just like, how do you do it? Because no one's gonna believe you.
It really is. It's funny. Speaking of the devil, she shows up. So
Sorry, I'm trying to catch up on chat too.
love his ringtone. The phone
like
call
that.
is here, I think as it says.
Yeah, you have a phone call, or I'm a phone call, or something like that.
Yep. And then like midnight was like, what a lame ringtone. Yeah. It's so funny.
Yeah. Oh, they're talking about the mission that's going to happen, and they need his help for it.
But it's so lame, but he delivers it so like with purpose. He's like, and I am here to counterattack. Like,
Yeah.
And I can only imagine the dub version of this must sound so hokey if they say it this way. I'm sure this is one of those lines that they change so it doesn't come out as hokey. However, All Might's fairly hokey, so who knows? I don't know. James watches it in dub. You can tell me.
I like this part because you know how the kids are always chilling and you never get to see them kind of hanging out and doing things. It was kind of like seeing the villains do that because they're just kind of like hanging out with Bakugo strapped to a chair.
Hanging out with their prisoner. Yeah. Totally just hanging out.
But they're all like pretty casual about it. It was making me laugh. They're watching TV, just like doing their thing.
They're reaping the rewards of their hard work.
And I think they didn't really do much besides just like talk about it. And then you go back to see everybody's status. But this line like gave me like, I felt really bad for this poor kid.
I didn't feel bad for Deku. I felt bad more for the person who left the bowl of pears next to the table. And the second that he realized who that was, he started thinking about Coda instead. I'm like, oh man, think about your mom for like a second.
For 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Because he's like, obviously, because he thinks back to her crying about like, I can't take this anymore kind of thing. And then after that, he's just like, oh, I wonder how Coda's doing.
Yeah. Yes.
This poor pile of a mother.
I can only imagine because he's like beat up beyond repair, and then he's like going in and out of consciousness. Yeah. Probably calling for All Might the entire time.
I also love his complete vacant stare.
His eyeballs.
Yeah. It was very One Punch Man, Saitama in a lot of ways. And I was like, it really worked with him. I think also like that could be him jumping right to wondering if Koda's okay. Could be a lot of he just came out of like being unconscious for 3 days. He has like a lot of different things hitting him in his head all at once. So I'm sure it's just like it just caught him at that second.
And he hadn't seen the kid since he handed him off, so he doesn't know what happened to him at that point in time.
Mariana's motherly response.
Yeah. Just tie him up and like, no, you're homeschooled now.
Yeah.
This line made me laugh. I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. The boy can barely eat, probably needs a straw right now. It's like with his little hands.
It's just one big melon.
Yep.
Perfect.
Well, yeah, it has to be a big melon. So it's been
of course.
Oh, and then everybody's like tiptoeing around all this stuff, and Todoroki's just like slams it in because Bakugo's not here. We're not going to be tiptoeing. I
love Shoto is great for this because he has like no filter. He'll just like let it go out, whatever it is. Yeah, and it's also like they definitely account for. He's like, oh, everybody's here, but then they account for every single person in Class 1A that's not there, just in case Midoriya needs to know the exact location of every other person.
Yeah. This is so good. Like, he probably did because he doesn't know what's going on or who's hurt or what's going on. This part.
We'll just leave that up there for now.
Everybody.
But not everybody handed it to him, You got to look for secret holes on that melon and wonder.
Oh.
Anyway.
This part made me cry. It was super sad. Just the way that his voice was strained, trying to talk about this and trying to do things. So I think this is a point in time where I don't remember if Kirishima has said anything yet. I think he did like kind of state something, but he was like talking about in fragments of watching Bakugo and not being able to do things. Like they did like the fuzzy thing where he started crying and just looking at the ceiling and just about Aizawa not telling him every time that you're going to be a doll that can save one person, and then him realizing he wasted his one person on Coda Not really wasted, but he couldn't do much more.
Yep.
Is there
Sorry.
more stuff going on?
Yeah, just James. I don't know. Just caught me. Anyway, yeah. It was a really moving scene with Kirishima kind of like, freaking out. And I think he kind of understands, if anybody in that classroom were to understand kind of what Deku was going through internally, it'd be Kirishima, because Kirishima also bonded with Bakugo in a really, serious way. Like they're besties. I love that Momo had her moment, right? Like, and I love that All Might, gives her the good thumbs up too for her too. Like, you did really well. Like, you've grown so much.
I like that he calls her out though. He's like, I thought you had you had made trouble making decisions, and I'm like, oh my, you don't have to say that out loud.
That's All Might. All right. He also has no filter, but he'll, it's coming from the number one hero, so you kind of just accept it and respect it, and you got to understand that he meant it endearingly.
I know. I just was shaking my head. I'm like, this guy does not understand anything. This poor girl, and she did something amazing.
Yeah, she really did something amazing, and the fact that now they have a way to do a 2-pronged attack against the villains is great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're just talking about melons.
Yeah, I realized that. And then they kind of flash back right now because Kirishima's talking about using Momo's device to basically go and save Bakugo themselves because they want to do something and move forward. And Ida's freaking out because he realized, oh my gosh.
Hey. There's a good conversation happening in the chat while we're talking
to this. I'm like, keep paying attention to that instead of worrying about
what I'm trying to pay attention to both things, but I was like, that's a good one.
This is like heavy stuff, and we're like, melons.
Yep. But yeah, Ida is remembering exactly what, because they're all talking about trying to rescue Bakugo, and Ida's remembering exactly why they shouldn't be going out to rescue Bakugo. And, there's a lot of other factors that they're not thinking about when they're discussing these plans. And that's kind of what he needs them to think about. Not everybody had the same experience that him and Shoto and Midoriya had, which is why I think he's so upset over Shoto and Midoriya.
Even thinking about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, Kirishima is just like fired up right now. He's like not happy about anything in his life. And this all comes back to, again, that same dilemma where he feels like he's just watching on the sidelines and never able to help a friend in need and doesn't know what to do with himself. And
we'll get a little more behind that feeling in him in season 4, why this is like such a big thing to him. But it's great to kind of see that kind of like peek up here when you have that information in retrospect. It's kind of really cool to come back and see how impactful the situation was to him and how it made him feel, because the whole reason why he's training and going to hero school is so this exact thing doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So
I like how for Kamino, he's like, we're in a hospital, dude, calm down. Like, you gotta be quiet. This was sweet.
Yeah.
Although
his hand can't reach right now.
No,
his hands are
lifted
in giant casts. Yeah. And actually, if you just look at it on like a surface level at this screenshot, it looks like Midoriya's be like, dude, you see how my arms are right now? Yeah. They can't reach.
I think that's the last slide. Yeah.
Yep. So, all right. That was episode 45. I thought it ended. I forgot that it ended while they were still in the hospital. The pacing of these episodes are interesting because, like, I don't expect the episode to be the end of one explosive thing, and then a quiet hospital emotional moment, and then a quiet hospital emotional moment, and then the lead up to big stuff. It's like they split it off really well in a way where you're not getting like a lull episode, like one just low key emotional episode. It's like, no, okay, you might get a little bit of that in like the middle or ending that way or beginning that way, but we're going to balance it in a way that kind of keeps it moving. It's really cool. Do you have a favorite moment from that?
I think it was actually just like watching the villains kind of talk back and forth because you haven't had that camaraderie before. It was like Tamura up to this point with the warp guy, and now actually getting some other
Kurogiri.
characters. Warp
Kurogiri.
guy. Even Deku calls him the warp. So,
True.
well, he doesn't know his name. I'll give him that. That was fire alarm.
That was what, your fire alarm?
Yeah, we don't know what's going on with it.
Oh.
We changed the batteries. It's all right. I'm surprised it went off now. It means it's not 8 yet. So
It starts to speed up, so that's probably
why. So I think it's just getting to know them more, kind of adding some more because there's so many students. It's nice to have some more villains to kind of offset all that.
Yeah, and that's it's cool seeing, like you said, the start of their kind of like camaraderie on the villain side, and we'll get to see that kind of grow and change, and they'll end up getting like interesting dynamic between even their group, and I love how much personality Horikoshi gave the villains in this series, because like there's one note villains too, like All For One, pretty one note, right? He's very much just the big evil bad, but everybody else, like in the League of Villains, has multiple facets to them. It's kind of cool. I love it. Not dismissing. I didn't read this before I put this up here. I probably should have.
Oh no!
Not dismissing the episode. My favorite part is actually the Ed, because I noticed there's a pooping cat in it.
What?
The I'm gonna guess the ending
credits.
The end credits. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Pooping cats. My number one favorite moment from this episode has to be the emotional moment where, I mean, there's a lot of emotional moments, but it's when Bakugo gets taken, and it is Deku on the ground, just like inconsolable, and they cut to a establishing shot almost showing him on the ground, Shoji, like all the other people that were a part of that group, like hurtled around him to be like, man, you're going through some terrible stuff. Plus, also you're on the verge of death. It looks like, so you're going through a lot. Yeah. So
I thought it was gonna be the ringtone.
I love the ringtone too. Like, I don't know. It was that thing though, where it's like I actually did get emotional watching it. So I was like, okay, if a show that I've seen countless times brings me to emotion yet again, that has to be the highlight of that episode again for me. But all right, shall we jump back in? I say we shall.
Yes.
From
This
Ida.
title didn't make sense to me. I'm just going to say it out loud because I was like, okay.
I think it's Ida talking from his heart to Midoriya. It's from Ida to Midoriya, right? It's like, dude, you got to pay attention to, all the things you're not considering when you make these actions. You're not thinking about what you're doing to people like me. Like, I care about you. I care about all the kids in this class. I obviously want Bakugo to be saved as well. But you have to understand, like, if we rush out here now, we might never be able to become heroes. Like, we might be the heroes that could have saved the day one day, not on the streets because we were reckless as kids. So I just think it has a little bit to do with that.
And then I like their logic is that they think that a lot of them aren't going to be dying because they took Bakugo without killing him. So there might be some other stuff. But I also think that he's still alive somewhere, but he might not be alive for long too. I couldn't remember exactly the line of logic.
Pretty much that. I believe that's kind of what they say. Like, yeah, he's alive at least for now.
Yeah, because they already think he's pissing them off, which he is. But
exactly. But they all understand Bakugo very well.
And I think Shoji at this point too agrees with Froppy and Ida. Both spoke up about this too, that he's also super frustrated, seeing everything too, but he believes the heroes are going to make the right choice and save the day instead of the kids having to rush in as well. I like how he speaks up too, because he's always like in the background making his like moves and stuff and never really joining the conversation. And this was actually important because he was actually involved in everything and they were listening to his opinion.
Yeah, he's starting to find a little bit of confidence in himself. delivered a crucial blow to the villains, actually, as we saw at the end of that whole incident. And so, like, I think that is starting to maybe change him from being this. There's a mirror over here. Let me just pose down while everybody's having this heartfelt conversation. Instead, now he's in it and he has feelings too, and he wants to express them.
Yeah. I was just reading James's comment. I'm sorry, it made me laugh.
All right. But then they acknowledge that Deku is, of course, the most frustrated out of everybody.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's right there too. And then they go into his diagnosis. They take off his little, I don't even know how to explain them, casts where they're all round so he doesn't hurt himself. And so his arm is gnarled. Like the fact that it's just like,
there's there's that giant burn on it from Dobby. There's all those fractures all over the place, fracture scarring.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he's like talking about hysterical strength or whatever for like when moms try to move stuff to save their own kids. And he had that, but I think he went almost beyond it too. It's like, but he used it for 100% for a lot of the time that he was out there too, which says a lot about Deku too.
It's also great things like to put in perspective. Like when he's battling Muscular here and he's talking about he's using 100% one for all. Technically speaking, from the medical side, he's only using 80% because the body puts self-imposed limiters on it. So 100% one for all when Deku says it is 80% of the ability that he probably has. Probably. Mm-hmm. But when he says he's using 1 million, that's that extra 20% to give him that little extra push. Mm-hmm. However, that little extra 20% did irreparable damage to him. So.
Yeah. Yeah. If he keeps going, he has like 2 or 3 more. Three
to 4, I believe, the doctor said. Also, I love that this doctor looks so much like Shinso. It's really fun. It's the same kind of level of exhaustion. What?
He like talks like that too. He's like, "Well, we're gonna read this to you in a very dull voice, but you better listen to me."
He's like a mix of Aizawa and Shinso.
Mm-hmm. And then he yells at him first for the nurse getting mad at him, and then he basically hands him this from Koda, which I stopped on this line because it's the most important.
Yes, it is the most important. I'm sorry I punched you in the balls.
And the letter's very like matter of fact. Like
it is. I love it because Koda, when he's leaving with Aizawa's like put a little extra effort into the thank you part and the I'm sorry part, and he actually does. He writes the I'm sorry for 1 line, and I think he writes like 2 lines for the thank you bit, and it's great. But it is a very matter of fact. It's very like much how, and you know this, you're a mom. It's how kids write. Like my nephew writes exactly what he needs to say. The end. Me, when I'm writing a letter, I write like 3 pages, go back, re-edit it down to 2, then re-edit it, and kind of it's ridiculous. But I appreciate the ever-loving shit out of kids with their frankness and their honesty.
Mm-hmm. Like, I think my son would just sign his name, Raylan. Be perfect. Oh, and then this was sad because I think this was his mom on the phone, and he was trying to talk to her about spending a couple extra days not home yet, and he will be home. And then she like stops and asks him if he really needs to go to UA or could it be somewhere else because she's concerned, which she should be, and all the parents should be. But this was kind of sad.
It's also like the treatment that they did over this. It really made it feel more impactful for Deku because he's sitting alone on this hospital bed. Like everything is kind of just like fading all like around him. It really puts the focus on that situation that hits him in the heart.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder. So when this scene came up, I'm like, I wonder, if his phone is like fireproof, or if he just goes through a lot of phones. Or
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, what temperature does this phone not explode at? Because it's on his face, like right on his beard too. And he's not just a normal flame hero. He's like the hellfire. Like, I'm like, he doesn't even like put it out. I thought maybe he would like.
He could turn it off anytime he wants.
Just like
he's like, no, I only answer the phone with my flame mustache on.
Yeah, and I like the way he only answers the phone if it's like an urgent request. Like it's not like he's too busy for you right now.
Well, I mean, he's the number 2. I'm sure he gets called all the time.
Yeah. I'm like Genus, who's like, I'm gonna go peace out right now. Oh.
But nice one, Christian.
Yes. Very nice.
Yep. So we get to see best Genus, which I'm always in awe of his outfit. You know, jean turtleneck with a jean pop collar around it. Great. He tells his sidekicks to make sure their jeans are nice and tight till he gets back. Pretty much.
It's part of the uniform, I guess.
Yep.
And then they go through each hero that they've called on, and they make a comment later on that they only called heroes that are UA graduates.
Oh, I thought they said that they made sure to not pull anybody from UA, not the teachers, because they're dealing with something right now. But everybody else are just heroes around. I didn't know they were all graduates.
Yeah, because they even made a comment to Endeavor, like, you came from UA, and we made a special purpose to bring heroes that were all part of that.
Oh, okay, I missed that.
Because they want to give it a little extra oomph.
I forgot Gang Orko was number 10 on the ranking.
He's so cool.
He is pretty cool.
Like yeah. And then like the rest of them are just their names. They're like no numbers. They're
not. Like, Gran Torino, I don't think is on the ranking at all, and I think everybody else is like new, pretty much. Although Tiger,
he's not a ranking. He's like 4 something. Like the team, they could have put their number on it.
That's true. Could have put like the team number.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure he has one.
Well, Kamai Woods is brand new, so I think his first time in the ranking is when we get that ranking episode.
The next one coming.
Yeah. Same thing about Lady.
I like that Mounts in English too when they put her name on there.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. That was good. Again, it's one of those things like when it's the kanji up there, I kind of just like imagine it's all kanji.
Mm-hmm.
So accidentally clicked on the wrong screen. Anyway. A Lady.
Oh, and then they kind of get to talk to Momo and what they need from her. And she's like, oh, you want me to make a receiver? She wants to think about it because she might or might not do it depending on what she decides. And I like that Todoroki has like this blind, whatever decision she makes, they're going to be fine with between the two of them because they have that mutual trust now from the training exercises.
I do. I like that as well because she even says like, oh, I'll go with Todoroki because I, trust him. And like she delivers a line that was the exact opposite but meant the same thing. It was great. Yeah, they have this awesome bond between them.
So this is Ida talking because he shows up angry that they're all still out there, and he's mad at these two especially because they were there and they gave him the talking to when he was out with fighting Stain, and no one else really knew. I think Kirishima makes a comment like, "What the guy's talking about?" Like,
yeah, and I love how Shoto's like, no, his point is valid. Like he gives him that pat, like no, let him go. What he's saying is true. It's fine.
I like how like he stops him from talking, and then Midoriya comes up to like try to like console him basically, and just he's already hurt enough. I felt really bad. Just like hits him.
All right, we're gonna have to take a little break from a second to read this comment and then answer, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So, what side do you guys take in this situation? I know what the right thing to do is, but as a kid their age with powers, how do you think you might have acted? Christy and I were on opposite ends. I would like to know which ends you guys were on. Steph, why don't you go first?
This is like a hard one too because they both have valid points. It depends on which kid you're talking about, which side. Like Deku and Shoto almost know better. Kirishima doesn't. So I would almost side with Kirishima on this because he's got all this extra stuff going on where he doesn't know that that's a bad thing or a good thing, or he's going to get his like professional career taken away or what's happening. He hasn't been in that position yet.
Yeah.
And realistically, Ida had his moment where his brother got hurt. He got all that emotional trauma out of the way. Kirishima hasn't yet. They're like, it depends on what side you want to start. Like Kirishima has all this built up momentum now, and he's worried Bakugo won't be there tomorrow, where he thinks that his presence is going to help. So
if you were a kid in that room with none of the
Kirishima.
You would go with Kirishima?
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, the hardest thing is to factor in the ability of having abilities, Because I think if I had abilities, I would also side with the kids that decided to go save Bakugo. However, me knowing myself, when I was a kid, I didn't want to do anything wrong. Like I purposely did not want to break any rules, break any laws, or anything like that. So if like the teacher said not to do it, I wouldn't do it. But you add powers into the mix, and then the whole idea is the fact that you're out there to become a hero, and this could be seen as maybe a test of your whole ability kind of thing. I would probably side with the kids, but it's a really side with the kids. They're all kids. Side with the ones that want to go save Bakugo, but it's tough because knowing myself, like I always kind of just choose the altruistic hero that doesn't want to, like break the rules or anything. Though that's slowly changing as I get older. I'm like more like, nah, screw all this. But
I just like I can see from both sides, and even Midoriya himself. It's like meddling the definition. Basically, it's getting in there and making sure that you're taking care of the things that you want to take care of. I mean, what if Bakugo ended up in a river the next day dead, and how would you feel like in that instance? Doing the right thing in their mind is making sure they're taking care of the situation and the people they care about that they can reach. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think at that point, even with knowing myself, I would eventually just kind of sway to go with the kids trying to rescue him. Also because, fear of missing out. I wouldn't want to miss out on that adventure, as it were, even though it could be like, death or whatever, but you're trained to be a hero. That's part of the whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess Dan was on Krishma's side and Christy was the rational one, which is good to see that he recognizes that as being the rational side.
Mm-hmm.
Mariana says, "Oh, I had a super strict upbringing, so Chicken Me would have been Aoyama." All timid, saying, "Hey guys, we shouldn't do this." And then someone would have talked me into it. Oh, so you would have been talked into it fairly easily. Okay.
I guess it depends on your power too. Like I
Yeah,
would,
I think a lot of
wouldn't be the invisible girl running and doing this.
I probably would have left that up to the pros. However, it's saving a friend. Yeah, see, it's a tough decision. It kind of what makes this scene as powerful as it is because you can see both sides, right? Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think that we're talking about going as a group. I think if it came down to just me going on my own against all those villains, I could tell you, even if I had powers, I wouldn't. But if I had like 4 other people, 3 of which are like best in the class, awesome powers, sure, I'll jump in. Why not? But yeah, so we get Ida decking Deku. Decking Deku.
That's a tongue twister to have.
Yep. I love
and
the
just
reaction.
their expressions. Like I felt really bad because like that's gonna go off every couple minutes.
All right.
Hold tight there. I don't know what's going on. This should go off twice.
Just a dying battery.
We changed them all. This is the thing. We changed them all, and it still won't. It's ever since like the blackouts happened. They've been like goofy.
My old apartment had that, and then it was they all have like internal batteries as well. Like you know how they plug in? Well, at least mine, they plug into the ceiling too. There's like a battery that they plug into that would need to be changed. So
I'll have to look at that.
Yeah.
Probably didn't help that when the blackout happened, we unscrewed them all from the ceiling because they were going off like crazy when the power went off.
That's what I would have done too. I probably would have kicked out the window or something like that.
This part was super emotional too because this is him explaining that they're worried about Bakugo, everybody's worried about Bakugo, but you should be worried about the people that are worrying about them too, and just how everything's going on. Just almost like his own moment of enlightenment because he realized this with the Stain arc that other people cared about him.
This is for you, by the way, Steph.
Replace the whole thing or just the battery at the top?
No, the whole thing.
Really?
I don't know. I'm not a homeowner. I rent, so I can just call somebody and be like, it's not my problem. You deal with it. So
I know.
Don't ask me for home help. I'll be like, I don't know, call somebody.
But
yeah, so I think this scene is exactly why the episode is named From Ida to Midoriya, because he's expressing this exact thing. Like I'm worried too.
I like the emotion lines on it too.
Yep.
Oh, this is when they explain that they're not going in there to march in there and like blow the place up. They're going to go in tactfully and see if they can just extract Bakugo while if they can or cannot, depending on if the heroes are there. And then he's also remembering lines about heroes moving before they have a chance to actually think about anything. So I think he's attributing it to this.
Of course, he attributes all of All Might's saying to every situation in his life. He could be like buying a Twinkie at the store and be like, "Their bodies moved before they had a chance to think." Like, I guess I got to buy this Twinkie. I just jumped.
No, I think I jumped. I don't think I took. I was watching because I had to replay or like reverse it a lot, rewind it a lot because I kept missing it because I was enjoying it too much, and I was like, oh. So I think at this point in time, Rocky goes on like a tangent, just going off about how he's like he feels like Bakugo's like caged, that he could be himself. Like the heroes are thrown into this weird like predicament where they have to be only heroes. They don't get to be what they want to be. Their quirks are like tampered with, like all this crazy nonsense. And then he's asking him, he's like, okay, I can let you be unhindered. We have this mission. And he's like, will you join me at this point?
Yep. And then you get Bakugo.
This is a good way of him telling him you're dreaming.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. That's a long way to go about it, but it's a very Bakugo way to go about it.
Yeah, I didn't get it at first. I'm like, what the hell were you saying? I'm like, oh, you're just telling him he's dreaming. I like it though.
This is what we were talking about earlier. Yeah. We all thought that.
I was worried about it. I hoped he wouldn't because I was like, I could see something developing, and I was like, okay, maybe he'll be okay. And then I'm like, oh, they just brought this kid all this way for nothing.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you know that he's like sitting there like being Bakugo, but in his mind he's actually like thinking and like reasoning and trying to figure out how he's gonna get out of there. It's just crazy. No.
She likes reading.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he likes meat.
Yeah.
I love that. Just meat. It's very manly. Meat.
Mm-hmm. Oh. And you get back to the kids, and like he looks so ashamed for hitting him. I felt so bad for him. And then I kind of talk about it, and he's like, what are you coming around for? We don't believe you while you're coming. He's like, I'm going to be watching you guys like this. And I think Shoto says this.
It's Shoto. Oh, just nonchalantly walking off the camera off to the left, just like, watch Melita.
Yeah.
Great. I love it.
Like, he's perfectly fine with him coming too.
Yep. I love Shoto for these exact like moments where he just says a thing and just kind of just keeps going.
Yeah. Well, then Kirishima's talking about how they're on the train, I think, at this point in time, about how Chaco says this, which the fact that she knows him well enough to say this too was like showing a lot.
I think the whole class knows that about him.
Yeah. But it's just like, it's very odd. And then Deku's like, I don't care. Basically, he still needs to be saved, regardless of his emotional state, basically, at that point in time.
Well, this is when he also recalls the line about meddling that All Might told him. So, yeah.
His eyes down there, too, were like very...
I love it.
Yeah. This is the moment I was telling him that they stand out too much because all their faces are all over the place because of the school. And this is Deku's idea of being able to cover up.
I think he's just like saying, yeah, that's right. We got to be like ninjas kind of thing. But not like actually do that. They obviously need to do something. So yeah, funny. I love that pose. It's good. Knowing what we know after they leave this store and what Karishma says, I think it's Karishma that says about why she wanted to go in there, and like her whole blushed face when she makes this suggestion, it's great.
Yeah. It's super cute. But it's smart in this whole regard too. And I think they go in there to buy outfits.
They all come out with amazing outfits. Except Shoto is the only one whose hair is like still showing under his wig and whatnot. It's like ridiculous. Everybody else is like they transformed to a new person.
Basically, almost. I like how they had to like later on put their names. They had little asterisks on them because
I know
they were, like, in disguise. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, in case you didn't know, this is actually Midoriya.
Yeah. Like you can't tell with his little freckles.
Well, he's got a goatee. Completely different person.
Really.
The way how he delivered this, like, "Hey, you" line over and over and over again, too. Man, I love it.
It reminds me of Tanaka from Haiku when he gets down and it's like all like medicine, like, tries to be all crazy. And then and he's just like, whatever. Yeah, you're right. His hair does show underneath. He's just like being himself.
It's so ridiculous. It's like the worst guys. I'm like, dude, I guess he's the one that needs to wear a wig of anybody else that like because this is very much like, okay, no one else looks like that.
She's so funny.
I love it, like the splash screen backgrounds that they gave them all too. Like, all roses. It's like he's really hard. Ours is like, champagne and gold. And then a host for a hostess club, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. His eyebrows are ridiculous, so I never noticed them until like
until he paired him with those tiny little mustaches.
That and his hair slicked back, I think, is part of the like thing.
It was slicked back and it came to a point too, which I really appreciated. I love they gave him like bunny ears too.
Yeah, I was wondering what the heck that was. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the kids in this show wear stuff in their hair that stick out that way, and it just kind of made sense. I thought, honestly, if anybody in this group that like looked the most different, he did, because what they did. You know, his hair down plus giving him bunny ears. I was like, oh, Krishna looks like an entirely different person.
Like the bonds and friendship. Oh,
here it is. Oh, that should have been the screen cap.
Yeah. They just walk outside trying to like act cool and stuff like that. It's just ridiculous. And this is his idea of.
They're trying to be adults because they're like, wouldn't it be weird if there's a bunch of kids hanging out in the shopping district after dark? So ridiculous. I love it.
Oh, and then they asked her, like, why don't you just make us the costumes? Why do you have to go in there and buy them? And she starts talking about the economy and how that's bad. You know, like the money has to circulate and all this stuff. And then Kirishima, I didn't catch it. It just says like you only want it because you're a little rich girl. You want to go in and shop at this little like thrift store, basically.
Yeah, like you probably had never been to a dollar store or anything like that before, and this was like your chance.
Yeah. And then they have the announcement for the broadcast for the teachers to explain what happened and then talk about their solutions, I guess, or at least I think they just apologize most of the time.
It is. I think they actually like it's the apology press conference. So yeah, it was all about the apology, and I think it's to answer questions that the press had. Yep.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They kept asking the same questions they already knew the answers to. And the kids catching on to that was really, they're way smarter than they look.
Well, especially now.
Especially now. But I like how everyone else is like freaking out and the kids are actually getting to feel that public opinion and like how it looks and what's going on. So it's almost good that they're out and about right now.
Yep. They kind of get a good sense of like how what the villains are doing is actually affecting them. You want to get money on this comment?
Yeah. And you go back to them, and so I think he's still on like his rants or whatever, even though Bakugo basically told him off.
Yep.
And so this is the point where he decides to take off all the restraints to try to show some respect and like give him like a welcoming to everything happening.
Well, he's like, dude, he knows, he's smart enough to know he's completely overpowered in this room, so he won't act like ridiculous and go after us or anything.
Yeah, he thinks anyways.
Yeah.
And I like the way he looks is just like waiting.
This is the stuff I was telling you, like I was going to use one of these faces.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. He's calculating in his mind.
Oh, and then he tells Dobby to take the restraints off. He's like, he would do it twice. He's like, what, me? No one wants to go near him because they don't know what he's going to do. And sure enough.
The second his restraints are off.
Well, he rubs his wrists real quick and then he just like smacks Tamura in the face.
Knocks the hand straight off, which sets Tamura off almost. Well, you think it's going to set him off in a drastic way.
This line too. It makes me laugh because you know how you have like always have villains talking forever and they give away the plan and they talk like whatever. Bakugo would not be a Batman and listen. He would just run in there and blow things up. He does not care.
And that's such a thing that he's gonna have to like learn if he's gonna be a serious hero. He has to learn to listen because they might give you information that will solve a bigger problem
Yeah.
or key you into something else. Yeah. Yeah, and then this is him thinking back to when he saw All Might face off against numerous villains.
Yeah. Well, it's because they underestimated his love of wanting to be a hero, and that's because they're basing it on what he's good at, which is running around screaming and blowing stuff up. So, throwing temper tantrums.
And
But he's super cute.
I know.
And this is basically Bakugo in a sentence.
Sure, there needs to be a lot more anger in there, but
no, this is what he is internally. He's super adorable.
It's deep internally, sure. Yeah.
And this is I think this is the last frame is when he notices that the hand fell off, and I think he says father at this point in time too.
It does this crazy close up on his eye that looks like he is about to disintegrate the entire room, kind of thing. And then he's like, father. Yeah. Well, that's that.
That's the end of that one.
Cool. So, favorite moment of this episode?
It's got to be the buying their little outfits. It's that made me laugh so much, especially Ida screaming at nothing. He didn't want to go, and then he's having a blast.
I know. I right there with you. That's the best part for me too, just because it's I don't know. It's fun when all the serious stuff's going on, and there's this crazy press conference, and the whole world seems to be turning against their school and everything like that. But yet they're playing dress up, and they're kind of acting like what they think adults are. One of them is yelling, "Hey you," and the other one's yelling about women's huge racks, and it's just it's ridiculous. I love it.
It's perfect.
I imagine that's probably most people's favorite moment from this episode. But please, if you have another, let us know. But I say we just keep on rolling.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Decker yelling like a delinquent.
Yeah. We just go straight back into the press conference. These are basically because Aizawa looks amazing with his hair slicked back. So here's
man bun
of it. Yeah, it's for Christy. And it's basically him finally talking to the press too, because I don't think he's ever been on the camera. We discussed this.
This is the first time.
His first visual appearance, and so I'm glad he dressed up for the occasion. He doesn't look like he rolled out of a sleeping bag,
which is also good because he doesn't look anything like him as a hero. So he's still kind of anonymous, I guess. If he were dressed up as a hero and jumping around from rooftop to rooftop, people would not immediately connect the man bun looking dude in the suit to the guy who looks like he just I don't know, stumbled out of bed. And he's not in a sleeping bag. Says.
That would have been how he showed up, just that way.
I love this too.
Yeah, and so I think this is in response to them belittling Bakugo and kind of the way that UA is shown him off, because he's from the training thing, he's number one, in shackles, freaking out and doing all this stuff, and I think that sets him off even more because it's information that probably shouldn't have been asked during this press conference. And even Vlad says something about them going a step too far and how Eraserhead's not used to this kind of.
He does say though, he's they went a step too far, but that guy's just doing his job.
Yeah.
Which I agree, but that guy's doing his job for the Weekly World News or the National Enquirer. They are looking for this. If Eraserhead freaked out here, that is what that guy was baiting for. And when he didn't get it, you could tell he was visually this isn't what I wanted. I did not want an apology. I wanted you to freak out at me so he could be like, UA loses the script or whatever.
Yeah. But he's definitely, this part was super heartfelt too, because this is really him talking, because this obviously wasn't handwritten beforehand. They didn't write something out about this, and just about Bakugo in general and his understanding of how he works and everything. And I think that's even why at the training camp, when you go back, when he made Bakugo throw the ball again to show the difference, was because he was showing him that even the strongest of you is still not grown a certain way. And so he's always had this really know-how of how to teach each and every one of those kids in a different manner.
Totally. He does a really good analysis of all those kids, because even Midoriya says, he's everything that Eraserhead said was true. Is of course I would save one person, and then my entire body would explode, and I'd become worthless, which is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Granted, he did end up helping, Dark Shadow and other people in other ways, but he at the end of the day he saved one person really, and he couldn't save his best friend. So yeah, Eraserhead has a really good grasp on where his students are at mentally and physically, and also Vlad looks like he has a very tiny head. Yep.
This line too. Like he thinks that they went through all this trouble, and he doesn't realize that he was their only objective either for this whole point. And that's why I was like, oh, Bakugo.
Yep. I think that kind of plays in with when the heroes show up, and then all of a sudden that teleporting stuff starts happening. When he gets sucked in, that's why it's so unexpected to him, because I feel like All For One knows who's in the room, who needs to be taken away, and if it was always the plan to have Bakugo there, and granted he's been on the TV talking with them, so he knows everybody is there, but he's not going to lose his main plan.
Yeah. I think Bakugo's lines are on fire this entire episode. He is literally telling them how it is. And so they were even saying, why didn't you just fake being nice to us, kind of hang out, get a feel for everything? And he's just like, I just won't. It's just not who I am. It's not what's going to happen. He's like, I'm not even going to do something I don't want to do, even if I'm only faking it, which even means being a villain. He's not going to act like a villain. He's not going to pretend to do anything with them.
Yep.
He's going to show you, this is what I want to do. I'm not going to do anything with you guys. That's really good. And then Shigure calms himself down, which one is amazing in his own feat for him.
That's another thing about growth, seeing Tamura grow to the point where he doesn't just freak out like a child. It was kind of shocking, but I think Kurogiri was even surprised too when it happened.
Yeah, because he calmed them all down. It's like, okay, this is a valuable piece of my entire operation and puzzle and everything. We need to treat him with respect. I need to actually explain everything to him. He can't get out of here by any means. And I think he starts talking to the TV at this point in time, or does Bakugo start thinking back on his?
I forget.
Yeah. I can't remember how this next part comes up. I think this is Bakugo thinking about what Genus says when he was at training.
Yeah, that's totally what this is. Yeah.
Just kind of, yeah. And then I think Tamura starts talking to One For All and said, I might need your help sooner than later for what's happening. And then I think he's agreeing with it being a good decision to stop not destroying Bakugo right then and there too.
Yeah, I think also because he asked for his help. He's like, I need your help. And I think he knows that means that he's going to need possibly no moves and all that other stuff. We're going to make a thing of this. And so he's like, I think All For One at this point really just wants to see Tamura kind of grow to become what he needs him to be. And this is taking that step, and All For One is very, very happy with it.
And then
name of the episode.
Yeah. And then we go back to our hoodlums.
Yep.
And so they end up in an alleyway. It's super dark. There's not really much going on. It's an abandoned building. And so now they have to come up with a plan that doesn't involve them fighting. So they're like Midoriya. And so his first thing is to go into muttering mode.
I forget who says it, but one of them says about how it's the first time they've seen the muttering thing in a while.
Yeah. I think it was almost Shoto. And then we go back to the other heroes. It flashes back and forth between these two areas quite a bit.
And time, too. We'll go forward in time. We'll go back in time a couple times.
Yeah. And then he's annoyed that he has to go. He's busy. And then Genus is actually really talking about trying to reform Bakugo is the reason why he even asked for him. Not because he was number one. It was because the way he was acting on TV, he wanted to correct it, basically.
But he said he was so stern right down to the roots of his hair.
Yeah.
And they even showed the scene of his hair just exploding back out.
Yeah. And they're really, and then even I think, who is it that says it to him? Orca, I think, it says it to him. He's like, you couldn't even change the kid. And there's nothing can happen to him at this point in time. And then I think Gran Torino even says, he's like, why am I here? I'm like an old man. He's like retired and everything like that. He said the likes of me. And then All Might's like, no. It might be him showing up and I need you.
All right. So I love that his was likes wolves. First thing I thought about was him wearing one of those T-shirts from Walmart that's just wolves hollowing at a moon. Which, I mean, granted, I don't know what he's working with in this area, but it's totally a look I could see Gina's
I was
rocking.
like, why does he like wolves? And I'm like, maybe they're, I don't know. I was trying to think of something like taming them, like trying to like how he does, but I don't know what he does.
That's a good point too. Taming a wolf is kind of like taming Bakugo.
Yeah, I was trying to think of that. Maybe it's his hobby. Yeah.
Shot. I gotta look here. So yeah, no, it says nothing about him being an American. So it's probably not him. Yeah. All right. He can stretch his body paper thin and do some crazy stuff with his body too.
There's a scene in this that was really disturbing.
Yep.
Oh, he's trying to figure out why they can't see anything, why there's nothing going on. There's moss everywhere. And like his thing is a camouflage using someone's quirk. And then these two drunk people show up and try to hit on Momo. Because I probably think he's a host too.
Oh yeah, they're like, oh, we want your hostess.
Yeah.
She can come party with us. Only got one of the dudes has horns.
Yeah.
They're both hammered.
They want him to come drinking, and they don't know how to react to anything that's happening. I like how Shoto's like, we need to leave. So walk away. Oh, this was really cute too. So they're in the alleyway, and like they get squeezed all the way over, and it's super dark, and they're gonna look in this little random hole they found, like a vent. And he's like, "Oh, how do you see the dark?" And Momo's like, "Oh,
I think they call that a window, Steph.
It's a grate, isn't it?
No, they jump up and look in the window.
I thought it was a grate.
No, it's just a window. It's a window on like the third floor or second floor or something like that.
Oh.
So they have to like get on each other's shoulders to look.
Yeah, but he's like, Momo was gonna make infrared goggles or whatever, something to see at night, and Kirishima had actually already bought some because he was getting ready. That's how into it he is to save poor Bakugo. It's really cute. No, and then they see something they don't want to see.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, do they not want to see that. Vats upon vats of Nomu.
Mm-hmm. And then it kind of cuts back over to this. What did he? I don't remember what he said to this point, or like they were trying to get him to listen to him about trying to convert him some more, but he was just not having any of it. I didn't catch it though when he's like inside his own mind, like, how am I going to get out of this? I'm going to take 2 or 3 of them out and then try to run away. Like he's trying to reason through everything too.
Yeah, he was saying something about how he really needs there to be an opening, like right before All Might makes an opening, which is great.
I think it's like
I also love that, like, there's a knock at the door and it's like, oh, Kamino Pizza.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. We're here for whatever. And then right when they're like, huh, what? That's when we get All Might busting through.
Yeah. He just smashes like 3 of them. I like how Toga's not even moving.
I was just about to comment on that. Bakugo's still reacting to the person at the door.
Mm-hmm.
There's great teamwork happening here because, like, he makes the opening, catches everybody off guard. Kamai Woods jumps in, captures everybody, and then right before, I think it's right before Kirigiri is about to use like the warp gate. That's when Gran Torino knocks him out, or who does he knock?
Dabi.
Oh, Dabi. That's right.
Yeah, because he tries to start the fire because he still can.
Yeah, and he's also like, oh, wood. That's right. Yeah, like,
yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Because we are here.
Yeah. He's so mad.
I don't understand. Yeah, I need to know, why does that American get to rush in? Because he's not. No one there in that group is American. So
he's sweet. I'm telling you, it's All Might. That's what he's trying to say.
Just like dude with American sensibilities.
He does yell out of things.
Yep. Yes, I agree with you, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he tells him, he's like, no need to be afraid anymore or anything like that.
Scared. He just like, his answer is, sure you weren't.
I love
This is
this too.
sweet. Yeah. Because at first I'm like, what the hell is that truck moving for? I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it just like moves, and then she like does this amazing like leg up and just smashes it through the building.
Mm-hmm.
Insane.
In this.
Yep.
I like how Orca's got him up in the air, but Genus has him all like tangled.
Yeah.
And then he starts actually freaking out. So now he's lost it. He
Yep.
was restraining himself, and now he's just like done trying to figure everything. I think he screams at Kurogiri. I said it to start the warping, and then that's when somebody.
That's when we see this.
Yeah.
Because we don't know that this happened
Mm-hmm.
really until he tells Kurogiri to warp in the Nomu. He's like, they're not in the position that they're supposed to be in anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
what happened? And then we saw that. And then, yeah, we're coming back.
He tries to warp them away, I believe, at this point in time. When the string guy was like, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I think it's just get us out of here kind of deal.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, Ed shot as a worm comes in.
He's like, I played around with your insides and made him unconscious. And I was like, gross.
Right?
Like,
disgusting. Like, what does that? What do you do? Do you just like squeeze on something a little hard, or what?
Well, he's all like warpy too. So it's like, what do you do? This part, like when he starts like trying to like psychotically like freaking out, like he's trying to see what's going on. He's not even listening to anybody at this point in time.
Oh, he had cool, but now he's like, yeah, flashing back when he met All for One for the first time.
Mm-hmm. The little guy.
So I think is this the first time we see his real name? Yeah, Tenko Shimura. Mm-hmm. You might remember that name. It's been used in this series before. It'll be used again going forward.
It's a lot of All Might yelling in this episode.
Yep.
And then something magical happens for poor Tamura, where there's another type of warp that starts happening where the Numus are coming through, and he realizes that he's like All for One is helping him. And then someone else gets basically taken.
Yeah, Baku. It comes out of his mouth. Oh, it comes out of like everybody's mouth, really, when they get.
Well, I felt bad for him too because he's got like so much yucky slime stuff go down his mouth already, and now he's got even more. It's just like.
Yep, this is such a gross teleporting power.
Yeah, I was like, oh, and then this was awesome.
All Might freaks out.
Well, it's the same kind of like reaction as Deku did at the same time.
Yep.
So it's just like he was right there and they missed him.
He I think at this point he's regretting not instantly saving Bakugo and getting him out of there when he had the chance. Instead, he was like kind of like chatting with him about, don't be afraid. It's all good. I'm here now. Not thinking that, there's an ace in the hole.
Not realizing who he was. Well, he knows who he's up. And that's why he says they're going to use this. Like he realizes all of a sudden, he's like, this is a plan. This is all like kind of put together.
Yep.
I think we go back to them to like see what's going on. They got knocked out with the car going down, I think. The truck going through the wall. So they're all.
That's exactly what happened. I love Mount Lady's reaction to them too.
Yeah. She's like grossed out and she's like, this is too easy. I didn't sign up for easy hero work. And I think Genus was like a young lady or something like that. Sometimes it's going to be easier. It's not. What's easy is sometimes important or something to that regard.
Because the level of difficulty does not change the level of importance or something.
Yeah.
Or does not reflect in the level of importance. Yeah. It's a good line. Because sometimes even the easy ones are the more important of the two. And like, had this all worked out, this would have been a very important thing, but they had an unexpected guest.
Little twist. Yeah. And I think you get to see Tiger finds his teammate, so he's like a little bit thrown off about her state of mind basically at this point in time. And then they hear that All Might thinking that Kacchan is there too, so All Might's involved, and so they're kind of rejoicing a little bit. They're like, "Okay, everything's going well. We're gonna leave."
Yep. And all their costumes were pretty much knocked off.
Mm-hmm.
No goatee.
And then they kind of hear a voice, and I like that All for One is apologizing too for Ragdoll State and like everything that's happening with that. He's apologizing to Tiger.
Oh,
and that
apologizing at the same time is like, she has a really good quirk. I've been like looking at it for a while.
yeah.
I had to take it. You see, I had all these great quirks, and then the last time I got knocked down, I had to, burn through a lot of them. So I needed this one. I forgot that quirk was taken by All for One because it shows up again like later on. But, yeah.
Some. I like how she stops him. Like, what if it's an ordinary citizen? And
Are
like,
you
I'm
not
like, what
listening
is
to what he's
wrong with
saying?
you?
Yeah. Well, Mount Lady, you're terrible at your job.
Yeah, some random guy in a warehouse who knows all of them and talking to him super creepy, but might be an ordinary citizen.
Yeah.
And Gina Stevens said, like, what are you talking about? You can't be quick. You have to be quick with, because I think he starts rapping him at this point in time, because he just like takes off.
He starts rapping?
Like wrapping All for One up. Gina
Oh, yeah.
with all the thread.
Oh, he ties All for One up like super tight too, like way tighter than all the Nomus and everything like that.
And then I think that was where we ended, is that point in time. And then I think this is the end credits.
This is the end credits, yes.
Yeah.
It's where, when All for One first shows up, something about his presence made them all hallucinate and see them dead, which is terrifying. And they're all just like bloody pulps on the ground. It's awful.
And it kind of just goes through the flashbacks of all the stuff. And I think Deku believed that Tamura was the one he was talking about at this point in time. And then he realizes that it's not.
Did he get his face?
Yeah, he's like floating in the air.
I know it's the last one, but yeah, this is the first time we see All for One in his full like mask and everything. We've seen his melted face and everything, but he has a crazy giant, I don't know what you call that mask thing that he wears. It's gnarly, but shit is about to get real. Like, this is the big moment in this season. Dan says it reminded me of that Avengers scene, and I was thinking of the exact same thing when it popped up. So that's it. What favorite moment from this episode?
This one's a hard one because it's just a build up. It's just basically like we're starting to get to a battling point. Like, it's kind of just like the introduction. So, I mean, I like the Genist parts in this. I think that his character is unique, and I like that he's kind of giving lessons to everybody too at the same time. Like, he's teaching Mount Lady about certain things and perspectives, and also like when he's talking about Bakugo, it's like his own. He only knew the kid for like 3 weeks when they were out there doing their. Not even.
Was it that long? Yeah,
I think it was like a week. Yeah, it was really small period of time, and to trust that much after that is shows a lot too. But I mean, basically, it's just getting to see the other pro heroes too. That's really sweet.
Yeah, I think it's for me. It's that when the pro heroes like all enact their plan to save everything. Close second though would be All for One's like initial scene introduction and how ridiculous he takes down everybody like super quickly, which I think we'll get that in full next week. Yeah. So we have next week's should be a crazy set of 3 episodes.
One of my favorite moments of all time.
Really?
It's coming up.
It's worthy of it for sure. I'm glad why we're stopping here. It's like the perfect like cliffhanger, because then we'll get the big moment and the after scene or the after episode next week, so we can talk about that all. Dan says seeing the pros in action. I actually forgot what Edge shot, so seeing someone new who hadn't been seen in a while was cool. And it's funny, Dan, that you say that too, because in the new movie, the one Two Heroes is the first one, Heroes Rising, the one of the little kids, his favorite hero is Ed Shot. And I'm like, oh yeah, they should do something with Ed Shot. I would love to know what that guy does. And I totally forgot that he shows up in this. Because they only use him like this one time, really, and then he goes away again. So it's cool. I love how no one blinks at his mutters anymore. Yeah, I love that too. It's
It's
great.
the same thing with like Bakugo yelling "die." It's kind of like common knowledge at this point in time.
Yeah. And so every now and again, you have one of the kids like react me like, "Die, really? It's not something."
Aw.
Thank you, Dan. For Ochako and then Hawks. We need some Hawks figures, I think.
Mm.
Well, what's wrong with Hawks? I
We
like
got a
Hawks.
bunch of other people that we need figures for first.
Yeah, but I like Hawk. I like the look of Hawks. Come on. Let's get on it. I mean, we should get on the figures in general, but I do want Hawks. He's one of the ones I want. I want them all. Give me everybody. See? Look, even Mariana says, didn't know about Hawks. Also, why doesn't he have a Nendo? I agree. I want them to finish the League of Villains first, the main group, because I definitely need a Mr. Compress and a Dobby.
Twice.
Oh yeah, twice is what I meant, not Dobby, because we're already getting Dobby. But yeah, Hawks. We need more togas. Well, yeah, we need a 1/12 scale toga. The Nendo of toga is amazing. She might be one of my favorite Nendos.
Mm-hmm.
She's great. She's right there.
She's super cute.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who else. An Endeavor would be sweet, but I don't know if he'd do good as a Nendo. He'd be very grumpy.
I would, yeah. I mean, I would like to see it. I think they could do some cool stuff with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a bit of an MHA drought with
They're
Good
doing a bunch
Smile,
of
though.
pop-up parades though right now because
They are doing,
released
yeah, the statues. It
Mhm.
looks like Instamashi's doing a bunch of Instamashi. That's their Instagram handle. Tamashi Nations is doing a bunch of statues too. Yeah, I think it's going in waves. I think because we got like a whole bunch that we're now waiting on, like Dobby and Ida should be coming out soon.
Yeah,
And then I think, is that the last two to come out in Nendo
that
form?
have been announced. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a feeling that around the time that we see around March when
Yeah.
season 5 starts is when we'll get a next big wave. I'm gonna throw out a guess, probably like 5 more Nendos. And because of like that,
Shinso before we get anything else, he would
You
be
want what?
so cute. Shinso would be so cute.
that would be a great one for them to do if they release that now,
Mhm.
so that way it can kind of come out during that season.
Yeah, some
That'd be
Class
great.
B.
Stop! It's been nothing but Demon Slayer lately. It
I'm
hasn't been
not upset
nothing but
about
Demon
that
Slayer.
though because the movie's coming out.
Yeah, the movie. Well, the movie's out. Other
Not
places
here.
besides. Yeah, I mean, I found some leaks of it, but it's like cam footage, and I'm like, do I want to watch this? Apparently, the subtitles are good, but I don't know. I really want to just. I'm thirsty for it. But I don't think they've done really. They only did one. Rengoku is like the only new Nendo that they've done for Demon Slayer, right? They've re-released Tanjiro and Nezuko, but
like 3 times.
yeah. Well, hey, they keep going out. I think it's great. What is this? I have BSD Nendos through them, hoping for a delay. What does that mean?
Something about. Oh my gosh.
Shinobu gotta be coming. Yeah.
I'm waiting for her to say what that is.
What?
I'm waiting for her to say what those are. I don't know.
Let's see. Acronym for, I'm gonna guess an anime of some kind. BSD. But see, this is what throws me off when people use the acronyms for like the Japanese name, like BNH.
Oh, yeah.
I know that one, and I know Demon Slayers. I don't know all of them though. Yeah. Mariana, help fill us in.
Yeah, we don't know what it is. I have no idea.
What big Nendos are coming out? I know. Maybe it's no Jujutsu Kaisen. They're re-releasing those.
No, yeah, I was so excited.
Which, oh my god! It's because yesterday was Christmas. I totally forgot yesterday was Friday, so I have not seen this week's episode of Jujutsu Kaisen yet, and that's probably what I'm going to do after this. Oh, okay.
Sports car?
That's what. Okay, so Mariana, this is exactly what I was thinking too. We were talking about the American line before we jumped on the show, And I was thinking it was maybe because he studied in America as well. But I wouldn't call somebody an American just because they studied in America.
I would if I was an Endeavor. I would be like pissed. It was like anything. To watch.
Jujutsu Kaisen.
Oh,
I usually message Dan immediately after I finish Jujutsu Kaisen episodes. So yeah, I'm going to watch it tonight.
I'm going to
I
do.
also want to watch Soul, but I want to watch Jujutsu Kaisen, the new Pixar movie.
Yeah, I'll have to watch it tomorrow with the kids.
Yeah, maybe I'll say that for tomorrow too. I don't know. I mean, this whole conversation thread has just diverged into other stuff. Whatever. PlayStation Network is having a big sale, so I bought a bunch of games on Friday. James knows because we were talking about it, but I got the second My Hero Academia fighting game, even though it's not great or whatever. But I'm like, I'm a mark for anything My Hero Academia, so I might pop that in tonight and play a little bit of that. I think it's like season 4 of the story, maybe season 3
cool.
after, which would be kind of really cool to go through. See, Dan, I gotta finish Akudama Drive still. I finished that one, so you gotta finish it.
We're not going to go where my list is. I have too much to watch.
James, get in on Jujutsu Kaisen ASAP. Stop starting everything else. Just catch up on Jujutsu Kaisen. And then he follows up with Soul is good. Which is great because I need something to wash my palate after Wonder Woman 84. I heard that Soul was good. That's pretty much what everybody's saying.
I wouldn't think it would be bad, even though I don't remember what the last one was that came out.
Pixar, I would say they never make a bad movie, but they can make some just middle of the road movies.
Was Onward theirs?
I liked Onward. Yeah, I think that was the last one they did. I think.
I just remember it being like stellar, but it was good.
Yeah. And I mean, even going back to The Incredibles 2, which wasn't that long ago, wasn't amazing, but The Incredibles, the first one, is my favorite Pixar movie. Superheroes.
No, it's amazing.
But the second one was just more of that. And so, for me, even I could admit that it wasn't an amazing movie, but it was still another one of my favorites of theirs because it was more everybody's voices stayed the same. All their characters worked really well, and they went further, even though the story beats itself was the exact same as the first movie, just reversed a little bit.
Yeah, no, those are amazing, especially the ending of The Incredibles. It was my favorite thing ever because they have the Mole Man.
The Underminer.
So Underminer. Yeah.
It totally was. They are they're
the Fantastic Four.
Funny little non sequitur story. Where I went to school, we were very lucky with having a lot of really good artists and people come through all the time. And when Incredibles came out, the first one, I was in college, dating myself, but Brad Bird came to our college for an early screening 3 weeks before. So I went to that early screening and we got to have a question and answer session with Brad Bird. And I was the third person to ask a question. I was like, so did you guys use the Fantastic Four as part of your basis? Because it seems like a lot of the characters in the movie take a lot of the tropes from the family dynamic of the Fantastic Four comic series that has been around forever. And Brad Bird responded, and to this day, I refuse to believe what he said. He's like, no, we didn't look into any of that stuff. It was just kind of, we were what should a teenager's powers be? Shy because they want to hide and kind of stuff like that. What would a young boy be? Oh, he'll be fast because they're always kind of rushing through things. And I'm like, and he's like, and Bob, the dad is super strong because he's kind of sees himself as the backbone of the family. And I'm like, and the mom stretches herself thin. I'm like, yeah, but these are the powers of the Fantastic Four. You're just,
yeah.
I don't know. You gotta, I don't know. It was
the
weird.
Baby lights himself on fire. There's nothing.
Yep. It was funny.
She's basically a scroll. It's just
oh, that's okay. So I haven't seen the second Frozen yet. I didn't really love the first one, but yeah, I guess the second one wasn't good. I have watched The Incredibles entirety twice on a Kmart display TV. Okay. Well, we should just end it there.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. No disclosure though. I mean, well, truth, whatever. I do like Brad Bird's movies and stuff, so it's fine. It's fine. Even if you gave me a bullshit answer.
Give you the Disney answer.
Yeah, I think it was the thing. This is before they bought Marvel. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and they were like, no, nothing. We did not rip from any copyrighted material at all. Yep.
Yes. Oh, sorry, Dan. I should have said that.
Yep. So, okay. I think that probably does it for the week. Oh, I mean, still talking about My Hero Academia toys and stuff. I ordered a new statue that, what's the brand? I think it's Banpresto. Yeah, it's Banpresto, but it's like part of their, like, it's a different line. It's their, not the Grandista. It's like a bigger, it's larger in scale. So he's going to be larger, but it's a Deku. And it's him kind of like charging up, like he's about to like explode up. And it looks really cool. They did it in like 3 different styles. They did a black and white style. They did a 2-dimensional, like cell shaded looking one. And they did like the brush that's like more, just like really nicely painted. And so I have that on order. I'm really excited about that. It's due out soon. But
is it all 3 of them together?
No, you only get one. I mean, I could have ordered all 3. Richie was telling me I should have ordered all 3, but I was also like, these are more expensive than the regular Banprestos. These were like $55, I think, a piece. So I'm like, one is good. Because I was really torn between getting the 2-dimensional one and the brush one. I went brush because I was like, I could use it more in photography and stuff like that. So that's it. Anybody got any other My Hero Academia stuff coming in? Big stuff? No, that's it. I love that hat. It's a great hat.
My son just thinks it's just an A. So he's always like, yeah, I got an A. I'm like,
yep. They're right. It's not wrapped in anything.
No, that's perfect.
All right, guys. Well, I think that'll do it for this week. Have a great week. Have a happy New Year.
Yeah.
If you celebrate Hanukkah, I hope you had a happy Hanukkah. If you celebrated Christmas, I hope you had a Merry Christmas. Any other holiday, happy holidays to everybody. Yeah, and hopefully, next year will bring about a whole different world for us to maybe get together again with our friends and family. Yeah, we'll see.
Let's hope.
Yeah, let's hope. All right, guys. Until next week, stay plus ultra. Have a happy New Year, and we'll catch